Hello, my eco-humanitarians. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to talk about bioplastics. Bioplastics, it's pretty new. It's been around for about 5 to 10 years. We're just getting into the newer innovations, the innovations where the plastic is a little bit more flexible. We have been having issues with some bioplastics with the ingredients inside of the product affecting the bioplastics on the outside of the package. So I want to talk about these bioplastics and why we use different starches. So number one, we use natural ingredients inside the packaging. It feels like plastic, but it's not made out of petroleum. They actually have starches inside of them, plant material, and they break down much faster in our environment, and some of them are even very good for the environment as it breaks down. The microorganisms love them, and we are going to talk about some of these. So let's break down all these bio-based products. So the first slide, you're going to see that bamboo is Moso bamboo, to be exact, is very widely used in Asia. Sugarcane is very widely used in Brazil, and I'll explain to you why in a minute. Corn is used in the USA. We have a lot of cornfields. And wood is probably all over the world it's being used. So let's talk about wood, because sometimes wood is a bad word. Nobody wants to use that. But I think if wood is sustainably managed, and these lands are managed where if you cut one, you plant one, wood is a viable source, and it is a very eco-friendly source. Why do I say that? Well, this cap, which is made out of wood, it can actually, you can throw it in your backyard and it can decompose very easily. It actually even has a cork inner which can decompose also. So it is a viable source. So let's go to the next page and let's talk about Moso bamboo. Moso bamboo is right now big in Asia, and it's being produced. And why have they picked Moso bamboo? And this is probably my favorite one of them, and I'll give you the reasons why I think Moso bamboo is my favorite. Moso bamboo can grow up to 1 meter within 24 hours. That's amazing, the amount of, the speed it can grow in. Moso bamboo absorbs 5 times more carbon than a regular tree. Moso bamboo is a grass, and it can grow with no fertilizer and no pesticides, which is great. And for those of you who don't know, most of the pesticides we use in the US and around the world are petroleum-based pesticides. So they take, let's say, nitrogen, and they mix it, and they put it in a petroleum pellet, and they actually throw it back onto the ground. So those kind of things we don't want. We don't want pesticides, and we don't want those kind of fertilizers. We'd rather have things like this, like wood that has cellulose in it, actually fertilize our soils and our trees and our plants and any food source that we grow. So Moso bamboo, right now there's a company called Kaneka, and it's in Japan, and they basically are using biodegradable films. And as you can see there, they even have a 10-day, a 30-day, a 78-day film, and it's very promising. We're using them in vac forms and all kind of product. And so that's Moso bamboo. So let's move on to sugarcane. Sugarcane, in my previous episode I showed you a plate made out of sugarcane. Now a lot of people confuse sugarcane for the actual sugarcane and not the bagasse. The bagasse is actually the pulpy fibrous residue that's left over. So let's talk about the benefits of bagasse. Bagasse is a dry, pulpy, fibrous residue that remains from the sugarcane. As I said before, bagasse is 100% compostable and biodegradable. product manufactured from bagasse requires less energy than plastic products. Now, to be fair, most of the ones that are bioplastics, require less energy than plastic products, plastic petroleum products. Sturdy and strong, it can, take up temperatures up to 200 Fahrenheit. So it can take very hot food, and so sugarcane is going to be a very good source for the restaurant industry and for the food industry, because you can take temperatures up to 200 degrees. Okay, so one interesting note about Brazil and why they're so invested into sugarcane and so invested into sugarcane bioplastics is because about 10 years ago, 20 years ago, ethanol was the next best thing, and it was going to power all our cars, and it was the newest technology, and they were investing a lot of money into it. And then came Elon Musk with his Tesla and kind of ruined things for Brazil, because Brazil kind of found out, that's not going to be the future. Sugarcane will not be used for ethanol. It's not going to be a great market, so we're going to have to use all this money that we've invested in sugarcane and maybe do something else with it. So they are investing quite a bit into it, and it's good. It's good for the environment. They don't actually, their sugarcane fields are not in the Amazon, so they're not, sugarcane is not really a reason why the Amazon is being cut down. It's being cut down more for palm oil than anything else, and we'll have a separate episode about palm oil and why we need to reduce our use of palm oil. So that's sugarcane. So now let's move on to I think the most controversial one of them all is corn. And let me just say that corn and corn plastics and bioplastics, DuPont and ADM have invested billions in ethanol and ethanol-based plastics and a lot of this technology. Why? Well, they've already invested in it quite a bit, so they're trying to find another market for it. So let's talk about the pros of corn. Corn can be cultivated throughout the world. Their manufacture releases fewer toxins and greenhouse gases, which is true. Plastic tubes made from corn are strong but yet very flexible. Now this is probably, I think, the biggest advantage corn has on bioplastics. I've had these bioplastics in my hand, these tubes in my hand, and they are very, very flexible tubes. So it's a good blow mold. You can make nice looking blow molds out of it. And when I say blow molds, you need to heat up the plastic. It blows into a mold, and it actually is very accurate. And DuPont has done quite a bit of testing on this. But here are the cons to corn. Cannot biodegrade in your backyard, needs a special process. So yes, to take it down, to biodegrade it again and use, and by the way, you could use 100% of corn plastic to use it again 100% into another packaging. So you're going from 100 to 100. So it's actually, that's a good thing. The bigger problem is it needs a special process, and most people aren't going to throw this into that special process. You're going to throw it into your garbage, and it's probably going to end up in the dump unless the US starts figuring out what it's going to do with their recycling and how they're going to recycle things. And that technology right now is not there. Europe has it, we do not. So we're going to have to get better and better at it before we start thinking about using these processes. And the other big thing, and it's a big con, and this is why I don't like, I'm not a big fan of corn, is you're using a food source and it is not going to be sustainable in the future. So if anyone has already seen my CO2 for Dummies, you're going to realize why we can't be using a food source in the future to make packaging. It just doesn't make sense. So those are the things we need to look at when we look at corn and bioplastics. There is a good article on science.howstuffworks.com on corn, and if you want to read it, and it's called What is Corn Plastic, and it gives you the pros and cons, and it's a very good article. I advise you to read it. Gives you a lot of information. And then if you really want to know a little bit more about Moso Bamboo, because I think, in my opinion, this is my favorite, you can go to www.agweb.com, and there is a bamboo set to go big in U.S. farmlands. And what it's going to tell you is right now some of the farmlands in Alabama have Moso Bamboo growing on it, and I think you're going to see more and more of this pop up in the future. So that's corn. So now let's move on to wood. If you looked at my symbols, eco-friendly symbols episode, you're going to see the FSC. Make sure you see this symbol when it's on the packaging or the tubes. It's complicated because sometimes you see that something's made out of pulp, but you don't see this FSC logo, and I advise every manufacturer out there to actually put something on their packaging where we know it's sustainably grown. And if you don't have it on there, it's probably because you don't really grow it sustainably and you're just grabbing the wood from anywhere. So these are the things I always tell my viewers to look for. So look for that symbol, and let's talk about the pros to wood. Wood grows in many climates all over the world. Wood is totally compostable and benefits the soil. Pulp-based vac forms are very inexpensive and can be mass-produced. Pulp innovations is starting to show up in bioplastics. Now, if you're gonna look on your right-hand side, you're gonna see this Johnnie Walker bottle, pretty amazing. It will launch in a paper bottle next year. So you will drink your liquor, your Johnnie Walker liquor out of a paper bottle, and that is great. I'm not much of a drinker. As a matter of fact, if I just drink a little Johnnie Walker, I'd be done. But it's great to see that that these type of products are out there, and that we are getting more innovative and creative with our product. On top of that, you're going to see a vac form, and that vac form is actually made out of Moso Bamboo. Actually, I'm sorry, pulp, but it's very fine graded pulp. So that's wood. And then Albea, which are one of our tube companies that we use in the and believe me, a lot of companies that do tubes use Albea or use CTL. These are companies that are very advanced. Albea just came out with a bioplastic made out of wood. And just on a separate note, and that's wood. On a separate note, I want to talk about these two. This is a CTL tube, and it's made out of 100% green from sugarcane. So this is sugarcane tube, very flexible, and this one is 50% PCR. So this is what PCR, and I talked about PCR in my last episode, talking about symbols. PCR is post-consumer plastic. So we need to the plastic that already exists in our dumps, we need to take it out and start using it again. So we recycle it, actually recycle, instead of throwing it in our dumps. And this is 50% post-consumer recycled plastic. But we need to remember that we got to stop using petroleum-based plastics and start going for this kind of bioplastics, cane and things that are all natural. So these are 2 green made by CTL. And when I say CTL, this is just a company that makes tubes, so it's going to be by another brand, but these CTL Albea, these are companies that many fragrance or cosmetics or skincare lines use. We use them, we buy from them, and we put our product inside of these kind of tubes. So, I'd like to thank you for watching the channel. I hope you thought that was interesting. Keep watching out for these products, whether it's PCR or bioplastics. We need to keep looking for these in the marketplace so we can change the industry and make it go one way, and that is the environmental way. Thank you. Give it a like, thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for watching.